for everybody who is watching right now, it's important you know that your mental health is as important as anything that you can talk about or you can think of. Prioritize your mental health. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. Anytime you're feeling down as regards your mental health, ask for help, because help is always available for those who ask. Do not bottle up things. Try as much as possible to not stigmatize people who are going through mental health issues. So we build a society together who is mentally aware and sound.
Welcome to Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks, how to get it just right. Thank you so much for joining us for another insightful and truly invigorating conversation. Goldilocks is about how do we get life just right. And today's conversation is going to be about how do we get our mental health and our overall human wellness just right. Because life is not just about physical wellness, our mental, emotional, spiritual wellness is key. And to have this conversation with me is my co-host on the Man Space, a dear friend from Nigeria, and somebody who is specializing in the mental health space. Kunle Pelemo, welcome to Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks, and so delighted to be having this conversation with you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cass. It's always a pleasure to be sharing platform with you. And it's always a pleasure also to listen to you. And then this is not going to be an exception, because I know we're going to have a wonderful conversation here together, as always.
Absolutely. It's one of the things I look forward to, having conversations in a way to educate and enlighten and serve the human community, right? I am excited for the book you're going to be launching. So why don't you talk a little bit about why this book and what is the title of the book? And then I want to delve into more details about it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cass, for the opportunity to be here to talk about the book and to also discuss a lot of things about that particular aspect of life that I really hold to a very high esteem. I hold it near and dear in my heart, and that is mental health. The book is titled Mental Hygiene, and I kind of look at it that we prioritize physical health. I mean, there is nothing bad in that, to say the least. But a lot of people are swept under the carpet issues about mental health. And we have a lot of mental health related issues plaguing the different societies based on the conversations I've heard in different parts of the continent. And it's like we are having a common denominator when it comes to mental health related issues. And for over 7 years that I have been working in that space, I felt it's high time I came up with something that I can deliver not only in the doorsteps of people, but in their hands. I mean, there are limitations about places I can get to as a person, but my book can create a reach wider than my presence in terms of physical presence right now. So this ebook is going to deliver solutions about mental health related issues in the hands of people who will grab a copy in terms of downloading one copy, so to speak. So the book is a self-help book, and it talks about general things that people can do as it pertains to mental health by themselves. And these are important basics that people can really relate with when it comes to their daily living, daily activities, because I believe that the mental health has to come from our intentionality and us prioritizing it as well. And that has to be as a result of awareness, which the book is also going to create in terms of making people understand what mental health is, what mental hygiene is. Just as we talk about physical hygiene and environmental hygiene, I mean, we have our bath, we brush our teeth, we keep our environment clean. How about translating that notion into taking care of our mental health, doing the normal routines of life that are necessary for maintaining a good mental health? That is what the book is going to expose people to.
I just love the premise, Kunle. I am in awe of how much dedication you have made to this field. You come from the oil and gas industry, but you pivoted for a reason, and you continue to serve this space tirelessly. And I can imagine the nuggets of wisdom that's going to be in there. Can we take a moment to talk about the biggest problem in people seeking help is the stigma around it? Just the word mental is translated into crazy. And so people are afraid to reach out because of being branded, labeled, and stigmatized. And in some professions, even talking about it, you could lose your license. Like if you're in the medical profession, if you're in the executive field, if you're in, high pressure environments, in decision-making roles, just the thought of it could get you out of your profession. Talk a little bit about that, Kunle.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kaz. And you are very spot on in, trying to create a build around the question. Sincerely speaking, that is one of the major challenges we're facing when it comes to creating awareness and making people accept the fact that mental health should be prioritized in our community, in our society, and in different stratum of society. Talk about the schools, the workplace, and all the rest. And from my experience, it is a major concern in different parts of the world. Nowhere, is exempted, because the stigmatization of mental health exists in various parts of the world based on research, based on conversations I have created over a period of time. And that is turning out to becoming the monster we have raised that is now, biting back so hard in the society. A lot of people desist from talking about mental health because they feel that there will definitely, be a kind of way whereby people will look at them, as someone who is demeaned in the society. And that had also make people retract, to share their experience, to share their journey, to share their issues. So it becomes so serious because people are going through a lot, but they are afraid to share. And that is one of the biggest problems. Realizing you have a problem, but distancing yourself from the solution to that problem. And that is what stigmatization is creating in the society. And that has also created a kind of wrong notion about what mental health is. People confuse it for psychiatry. People confuse it for madness. For example, in Africa, when people come out to talk about having mental health related issue, they might think the next thing to do for them is to take them to the, psychiatry. And necessarily that might not be right sometimes, because mental health is more than that. It's about our general well-being. It's a state whereby someone can function properly, someone can function productively, emotionally, psychologically, socially, and all the rest. So the time has come to disabuse the minds of the people about what mental health is itself. So everyone can operate from that freedom of being open to show up and then to also speak up whenever they want to share about their mental health.
And that is a real issue we all have to deal with. And I appreciate that you're addressing these in the book, giving people the basic tools. How can all of us, because we're all part of the mental health ecosystem of each other, we all have a responsibility in making sure we're not breaking people, right? Breaking people physically is one thing, breaking people emotionally, spiritually, mentally is another. How can we all show up with the consciousness that we are not adding to the problem, because that's part of the problem? If we eliminate the causation and we show up with certain capabilities, then the stigmatization also starts weaning out because we're all showing up mindfully. How
Mm.
can we show up differently, Kunle?
Thank you so much, Dr. Kaz. And I mean, one thing that I really tell people in places I have been to is the fact that first thing, you need to show that responsibility, become responsible, and become real with yourself. When we talk about mental health, the first thing that comes to my mind is to have that connection with yourself. When a lot of people lose connection with themselves in terms of that self-awareness, which is key, which is very important in determining how you interact with people, how you even interact with yourself. So that is the first thing, the intentionality for you to recognize, to realize, to also admit your emotions, for you to acknowledge your emotion, acknowledge your feelings, for you not to shy away from those realities of life. You know, all those things will come. Some of those things that, you know, plague us, they are somehow not, you know, avoidable. But the fact that we recognize them and then deal with them now with some of the things that I shared in the book, these are, you know, some of the ways whereby we can take power away from the problem rather than papering over the cracks. And it will also inform how we translate that into, you know, personal discipline in terms of what spreads across the society at large in workplaces whereby we tend to shy away from, you know, prioritizing the mental health of the workforce. And we are so concerned about productivity, performance, deliverables. But if the mental health of the people who are in that space is suffering, there is no how they can churn out the productivity that we desire. So it's getting to that point whereby organizations should prioritize putting in place, just as they do when it comes to the physical health through HMO and some other related stuff that they do, prioritizing the mental health of the workforce. So people can be free enough, people can open up enough to talk about it, because maybe that might be the reason why their performances are, you know, dwindling somehow. So, and then also, how about in the schools, the public spaces as well, which will also inform what the government should do in creating an enabling environment for mental health to thrive in a society. How about making mental health become, you know, part of the basic, you know, healthcare system in different societies? So these are some of the things that we are trying to push across and advocate for in the society, to create an organized approach to solving mental health related problems or issues, so to speak, rather than just papering over the cracks, shutting people down, shutting them up, not talking about it. And that will later on create implosion in different individuals, which will become a mental health pandemic in the society. We don't want that.
No, we absolutely don't want it. And I love how brilliantly you connected the problem to public policy, right? Public policy changes can truly bring sunlight into the reality of human condition. And the fact of the matter is, when the mind is joyful, the body heals itself. A lot of the physical conditions people go through are an extension of the mental, psychological elements people are suffering through. Who is your target audience for this book, Kunle? And I heard you mention educational systems, schools, institutions. So who are all you're targeting, and how are you planning to get the message into their hands? Because knowing that will help us facilitate that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Kaz. Before writing the book, I looked at it that the net is wide because I want to reach out to a whole lot of people because this is a concern for different cadres of the society. Talk about the young, the old, female, and the male, and I felt this is something I could start with as a general tool for a lot of people. So the students, majorly from the higher part of the basic education, can relate to these, and then people in the higher institution of learning can relate also. Then the workforce, definitely, because most of the things I put right in there, things such as meditation, things such as showing gratitude, and some of the self-help practices that people can even engage with in the corners of their room or in the corners of their workspaces. There are things that can be easily adapted to. So the net is wide, and we're trying as much as possible to reach out to a host of people. Aside the fact that people can download the book online, we are also creating a movement of reaching out to several places, going to school to talk to children, creating a seminar, and also creating like a role play whereby they will act mental health related dramas for them to imbibe the teachings that are in the book, and then to create like a tangible expression to what they are learning. So we will also try as much as possible to see how we can go with our own counselors to, find a way of creating support for those kids in school. So, and this is also one of the ways we are reaching out to people, on a platform such as this, whereby it could be shared and a whole lot of people can watch. So we have so many ways whereby the book will get across to people, apart from the fact that they can download on several platforms, and we can also reach out to people physically to teach what the book teaches.
Mm-hmm. I am pleased to hear that, Kunle, and I can also see the importance of getting this in the hands of mothers. Mothers deal with their own challenges because they're expected to do a lot for nothing, right? No appreciation, no financial return, nothing. And in most societies, mothers are told that they're not valued. And so when mothers are in that stage of mentally unhappy, emotionally unhappy, then that directly affects children. And I have seen a lot of research that talks about the best way to raise future leaders who are well adjusted is to make sure the mothers are happy, because the mental health and the joyful nature of the mother has a direct correlation to the psychological framework of all the children she's raising. So I am delighted to actually see this book come out. I am excited for us to promote it across our communities. And I actually want you, Kunle, to touch base on, while women deal with this in their own way, women have a way of talking to each other and building that support system. And they have a natural way of having a community therapy. But we live in a society where men don't do that. And men don't believe that talking to another guy about this is cool. And so the suicide rate and the negative ramifications for men are greater because society expects them to be physically strong and therefore emotionally isolated. Talk a little bit about how this book can impact men in a different way and how it can actually help the community of women be more supportive to each other.
Wow, that's absolutely Fantastic. That's a great question, because that speaks to one of the plagues that we are also trying to solve, one of the problems we're trying to solve in space. It's that saying that, big boys don't cry, big men don't cry. And there is that mask that has been worn on every single boy who also grew up in that mask and become a man. And that is creating a kind of physical, emotional facade, where what is happening on the inside is betrayed by the physical appearance. You see a lot of men smiling all day long because they don't want to show their emotions, because there's a construct, there is a stereotype that they have been, made to exhibit in one way or the other in the society, to not show their emotions, to not speak up. And we have started, creating that awareness now to disabuse the mind of every single man out there. And it has to be taught to our kids as well, even from the young age, when they start to learn that their emotions are valid and they are human. That's what we share. We're all emotional. So why bottle them? Why hide them? Why shy away from them? Acknowledge them, feel your feelings. And it is also, there's a chapter in the book that is dedicated to that, making people understand it is not weak to speak. It is okay to not be okay. A lot of men had encountered, or a lot of issues, or like implosion, as a result of overload of emotions that had been bottled up for a long period of time. It's not weak to even, get home and share with your wife that you have your fears, that you have your challenges emotionally, psychologically. It is not weak to even break down in front of your family, and let them see, your vulnerability. Let them see, how you relate also as human beings. So there's a chapter in the book that talks about that, which will definitely disabuse the mind of a lot of people and help them. And also our women to, just like you said, there is that tendency for women to open up the more, but there is also the need to create more support group for them in the society, to build them together, for them to find that succor that is necessary. And then we build our society together to become mentally healthy and mentally healthy family, mentally healthy workspace in general. That is also part of what the book is going to put in the hands of the people.
I am delighted to hear that, Kunle. Why don't you take a moment and share with our audience how they can get a hold of the book. I will be sure to share the link. And also, when can they expect to see it on Amazon, so that you have a Africa release and you have a international release? Talk a little bit about both so that our audience know the timeline and the way they can get a hold of things.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kaz, for the opportunity to reach out to 1,001 people who are going to be watching this, and then we can also share it within our community. Now, the official presentation of the book is on 27th of August this year, it's 2024, and it's going to be virtual, but this is the African edition. And we are going to have a great experience on that day, where I will also have the opportunity to share the reason behind the book and what the book is going to do for every reader. And I am honored and privileged to be joined by your humble self, Dr. Kaz, as the keynote speaker, for that day. Having done a lot of things together, I really, really cannot but commend what you are doing in several spaces in, developing the community, so you're doing wonderfully well, and we have that honor. So Dr. Cass is going to be the keynote speaker on the 27th August, when we are presenting the book. And my very good friend, bosom friend and brother of mine, Coach Triple A, is going to anchor the event that day. The book is already on Seller. That's a platform that is very popular in Africa, and it's currently downloadable, but we are releasing the link on the 27th. And on the first, on Amazon, it should be on the first week of September. It will be on Amazon, and afterwards we are going to do the global edition of the presentation. So that is the lineup for now, and subsequently we're going to have like a tour in school, in workplaces, just like I mentioned earlier on. So we have a lot in our hands because we want to deliver mental hygiene into several spaces so people could imbibe that culture of creating it in their daily lives.
I am absolutely delighted and honored, Kunle. We are friends. We are, what I call hot family. And we are committed to bringing about change in a constructive and sustainable way. So it truly is my honor to celebrate you, to showcase you, and throughout our communities to promote this and bring it to life, because God knows there are so many pockets of humanity that needs it, that is crying for it, but doesn't know how to access it and doesn't know how it's going to be received if it asks for it. So you are creating the permission structure, you are providing the tools, and you're bringing this forward. And congratulations. I am honored to be a part of this journey and super excited for the launch and wishing you the best. If there was one piece of advice for all of us as we bring this to a close, what would that be? And unlike the normal way we close, I want you to have the last word as we bring this Goldilocks show to a close, because your advice and nugget of wisdom to our community should be perfectly the appropriate way for us to come off the air today.
Thank you for the honor, Dr. Kaz. And I'm so very grateful to be on this platform before I say the words I have to say. It's been amazing, and I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much, and cheers to greater things that we're still going to do together. For everybody who is watching right now, it's important you know that your mental health is as important as anything that you can talk about or you can think of. Prioritize your mental health. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. Anytime you're feeling down as regards your mental health, ask for help, because help is always available for those who ask. Do not bottle up things. Try as much as possible to not stigmatize people who are going through mental health issues. So we build a society together who is mentally aware and sound.